There it is. It's the Mexican Soccer Show. It's Monday, lunes. We are going right into it. Lots and lots to talk about today. I'm Wiesel from Food Mex Nation. This is, you already know the spiel. It's an hour-long podcast dedicated to Mexican football. All of you guys hope that are watching us, thank you for returning on Monday nights. We'll jump right into it. We had a little break over the weekend with Liga MX, and obviously now the FIFA date has given us 2 games for Mexico. We'll be talking all about that. I'm trying to get to the question, but I know it's around Chile. I mean, around the match going into it. So now that you know what happened, how do you feel about Chile? And I think that's around the questions. And I'm trying to get to the question, but I guess I can't do it. But Cesar, we'll just kind of start.
You okay with you?
Yeah.
Sorry,
I got the question.
Figure out the question here, and I'm like, my phone is not going. Here we go. I got a question for the night. Sorry, guys. Sorry, my bad. my phone just automatically started. All right, here we go. What were your expectations going to the friendly against Costa Rica, and are they higher now going to the Chile match, Mr. Cesar?
Hello.
Go.
Yeah. I mean, going into the Costa Rica match, I mean, I was hoping for a fun game, and one that featured, some minutes for the young players. That's exactly what we got there. I mean, it was a very up and down match, but I thought it was plenty of fun. But I mean, against Chile, I don't know if my opinion has really changed that much. I didn't get a chance to watch Chile's 3-0 loss to Peru last week. I don't know exactly what happened there, but this isn't a Chile side you should really take for granted. Alexis Sanchez reportedly expected to start against Mexico after some visa issues, and obviously when you look at that roster, you look at some of those names left and right, like Lewandowski, Nico Castillo, Vidal. No, I guess my expectation, are they any higher going into this game? No, not really. I still think it's going to be tough. I mean, it's going to be interesting in Querétaro to see what the atmosphere is like in the sold-out venue, but I would say it's about the same, and I think, we're not going with scoreline predictions just yet, but I think it could be a potentially entertaining draw there, but I don't know. I think, yeah. Expectations aren't exactly sky high after that last win.
I think it's kind of what we're looking for right now with the players that are being called up, and then now such small time that they've had to train. So it's kind of hard to kind of predict all these games. I was definitely surprised. Tom, to you, do you feel a little better at least going into Chile after what we saw from Costa Rica?
I don't think it's changed. It's not changed that much. I mean, I think these games and all the games since the World Cup, they are what they are. I mean, it's this chance for the new generation. The same with the September ones. I mean, nobody's getting too caught up in the result. I mean, obviously, it's good to see an entertaining game like the one against Costa Rica, but I think the game against Chile is slightly different. I thought against Costa Rica, we almost saw kind of within this new generation, there's these very, very raw players, and I thought we saw those starting against Costa Rica. And I think against Chile, we're now going to see, the younger, more established players. So like Irving Lozano, I think we're going to see Tecatito, Raul Jimenez, not young, but he's part of the next process. Nestor Araujo, Diego Reyes, these guys who aren't, who are very much part of this next generation and potentially the leaders of the next generation. So I think it's going to be an interesting to see where these guys compare to the ones that started against Costa Rica, because let's not forget, until Tuca Ferretti made those substitutions against Costa Rica, Mexico were down. Mexico were losing the game. So I think we're going to see. I think it's going to be a really good game, and I think Mexico, the team that's going to be played against Chile, is going to be a lot better, a lot stronger, a lot more experienced than the one we saw against Costa Rica.
Yeah, you definitely touch on something there. I mean, we saw the differences in the second half when you had the most experienced players, and then you didn't have so many people that haven't played with each other. So I'm a little excited as far as we know that we're going to have the better of the teams in Chile. And I also like the fact that we won that game, and it gives a little pressure off. I know there's not so much pressure, and if they would have lost, it wouldn't have been a big deal. But at the same time, it would have been a storyline, 5 or 6 losses in a row. Look at the goal differential. Look, the last time we won a game was against Korea in the World Cup. So I kind of fact that, okay, that's kind of gone. Were able to win a game. It was a Costa Rica that also had some problems, and they have managerial issues that are coming in, and they finally have announced Matosas. But at the same time, it's good to win anytime that you beat one of the best goalkeepers, in the way that he did, Keylor Navas and Ryan Reese and Joel Campbell. So I like the fact that we were going to win, and there's not that much pressure going into it. And now here comes Chile, which it's obviously definitely better off going in and having at least a win than facing Chile, which I know people don't want to talk about a revenge, but I believe that there's still some animosity there with Mexico and facing Chile. So I feel a little bit better after that win for sure. As far as our responses from from Twitter, the Chivas Mex fan 17 said, I was expecting them to lose 1-0 or something like that. I think they can at least tie Chile. From Chivas Mex fan. Cari, friend of the show, obviously it's been on and is part of our Liga MX El Tri Ang family. That score didn't matter. Rather see potential young players get international experience. Yet underlining rule they low-key had to win being in Mexican ground. Chile is beatable, always has been. Seems like a clean sheet for both tomorrow. Mex 2-1. Man, Cari's saying that Cari believes Chile's always been beatable.
But yeah, it was interesting. Duque Ferretti's press conference today, because he was asked what does Mexico basically have to do to get up to the standard of Chile and Argentina, and it was I don't know. I thought his answer was absolutely fascinating because he said, well, who did we just beat in the World Cup? He said we beat the world champions. We beat Germany. He said that Mexico's problem isn't not being able to beat individual teams over one game. It's the same as what Osorio said. Over one game, Mexico has got the potential to beat any of the teams. It's that consistency. And Ferretti just basically said, that's what we need to establish. He said, it's no good beating Germany and then you can't even reach the damn fifth game. That's what he said. And he said, these young players, these are the solution to this lies in these young players and bringing these young players through. And I think Ferretti's gone really above and beyond in his comments about this generation. I think deep down, or not even deep down, I think he wanted this job.
Yeah.
I think that's what happened.
Yeah,
I think he wanted it. I think the way he's talking about these players, he's talking about this generation needing somebody to kind of bring them through and guide them. And, he's talking about himself. I mean, he's thinking, I'd love this job to be able to bring through this generation. But yeah, it is what it is. I mean,
we'll talk about coach in a minute, and sorry to interrupt. We'll talk about kind of coaches and what's the status on them. But I kind of want to say that, if everything kind of falls through, and I know we'll talk about Martino and everything else, I still believe that if things fall through and there isn't anybody out there, the Federation and Tigres will sit down and be like, all right, what do we need to do?
Yeah, I was gonna say, I know we gotta move on and we'll talk about that later, but I think that is important so that maybe down the line before the World Cup, there is still a decent chance that Tuca could take over. Who knows what's going to happen with that next manager, how well that goes. I mean, we've seen in the past, how difficult things can be. Obviously, Osorio had a little bit more stability than some of the previous coaches beforehand, who had a very short amount of time. But who knows? Maybe there's a chance there for Tuca. Yeah.
But I think what Tuca likes about this job isn't that he keeps saying, I've been there, I've been to a World Cup, I've done it, I don't need this. It's not an ego thing. I don't need to be there. I think what Tuca Ferretti likes about this job is that you'd have a 4-year process to Qatar where you can bring through these players. And I think that's what really, really appeals to him, and with what he's done at Tigres, Pumas, Chivas, what's the one thing with Tuca Ferretti? He likes to be at a club for a long time, an institution for a long time, to develop a team, to develop a playing style. And I think with the Federation, he thought, maybe this is the right time now. And obviously, with this new group of players, I think he saw that I could be this person to do this. Who better than me, considering how long I've been in coaching in the Mexican game. So I don't know, but I think once it's been rejected, it's very unlikely. And I do agree. I agree, Cesar. And when Tuca finishes with Tigres in 3 years, you never know. There might be a managerial change in the Mexican national team, but I don't think the attraction is I want to be there. I think the attraction is I want to develop something.
It could even be 2022, 2026. Why not that? Why not that? Maybe he'll be a little bit older then. It might be like a different Tuca at that point. But I think that's still a possibility as well.
Yeah, I think the age thing's the only thing. But Mejia Barron is still there day in, day out coaching Tigres. So, I wouldn't rule it out either.
I hope we don't need Tuca after 2022. Like, we did well. Quinto partido. Okay, maybe quarterfinal, something like that. Where Tuca, you're a little too. We need Tuca to get us to the quinto partido. After that, I love you, Tuca, but hopefully we have somebody else.
It'll be Piojo for whatever reason.
Oh my goodness, Piojo that went to Europe and coached the Champions League team and then comes.
Piojo taking charge of Manchester United. Just
All
makes
right,
the
guys.
charge.
If you like him in England, they did that whole article on how England should get Piojo. It was hilarious. Okay, guys, let's before we keep going, let's talk about Costa Rica. None of the viewers didn't really get our reactions from it. Like we talked a little bit about, glad that there was a win, two different sides. But Tom, give us kind of your take on the game, and did you expect that the win, especially so many goals?
No, I thought it'd be a really difficult game. I think I predicted a draw, and that was because Costa Rica came with it's a pretty strong team. I mean, the majority of that team is based in Europe, and they've been playing together for so many years. I mean, Ronald Gonzalez really put out a strong team there, and I think with Matosas looking on as well, I think the players were kind of pumped up to show what they can do. But yeah. I thought Mexico struggled at the back, big time. I mean, Jesus Angulo, I'm not sure if he's a centre back. I don't know. Tuca's obviously picked him out to play there. I thought Lahoud as well looked nervous.
Nervous is an understatement, Tom.
Yeah, I mean, but then again, even with Cholos,
He's
I don't know,
kind of crazy out there, right?
Yeah, I don't think. I mean, he does make the occasional mistake. I don't know if it was anything at that level. I think, at least from keeping an eye on him, he looked a little bit more nervous than usual out there, which makes sense. It seems like, I mean, you were there, so it looked like the Monterrey fans were even like having a little bit of fun. I should say Tigres fans, but Tigres fans in Monterrey, they were having a little bit of fun with him out there.
Yeah, no, definitely, and it wasn't a great debut, but it's like Tuca said after, these players, this is what they need. They need these little bits of experience. Else when else are you going to throw them in? I thought Godinho, to be honest, in the second half, he looked like he had more authority in that position. Angulo with a couple of mistakes, playing out the back and just making poor decisions in his playmaking. I thought Roberto Alvarado recently he's not been at it at the same level. It's something that Caixinha mentioned as well, that after the September international dates, he's not the same player since he came back. So there's something to look out for. But at the end of the day, I think the substitutions changed. In Henry Martin, I thought he came out with his reputation enhanced. Victor Guzman as well, I thought was I thought Guzman was the one more than any of them who kind of said, "I belong here. This is my stage. This is where I deserve to be." And I don't know. I can see Guzman now not letting go of this kind of his spot in the national team. Certainly in the squad. So yeah, I thought in general it was the substitutes. Jurgen Damm I thought was great. I think you see the difference there. Tecatito I thought looked sharp. Which was
Jurgen Damm was great.
I don't know. I'm going to disagree
there. Aside from that one,
I'm going to disagree. Maybe it's because I have this like this idea of Jurgen Damm, and because once he steps in the field, I do kind of, I don't know, distrust him. I was not that happy with him. I know he got the assist, but other than the assist, I feel like he had a number of inaccurate crosses there. I thought he had a pretty clear opportunity to take a shot, and that wasn't accurate either. I'm not sure if I was really, really impressed by him. It also didn't help that you had someone like Tecatito who just looked so much more precise and confident, and just the way that he was dribbling looked so much better than what Jurgen Damm was doing. But I guess
Tecatito compared to Damm, what was the impact? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
No, but because this is the thing with Damm, he's not very precise. You know what I mean? But the ease with the way he gets past defenders, I think plays with the other team as well. And I think. They know they can't leave him one-on-one, and I think that messes with the mind of the other team. It attracts other defenders over there and leaves space elsewhere on the pitch. That's what I think about Damm. Go on.
I guess the only issue with Dam though is that if he were to do that, perhaps in a position, if he was a young striker doing that, I'd feel good about that. If he was a young, I don't know, maybe defensive midfielder, I'd feel good about that. But as a winger, I mean, it just doesn't really excite me. I feel like he's got so much competition with the Tecatitos, with the Lozanos, with the Carlos Velas. That's just, I don't know, that if you really want to make an impact for the national team, I just feel like you gotta be a little bit more better than him. You gotta have a bigger impact than I know. Nadeed, he did have that assist. You gotta credit him for that. But I don't know. I'm expecting much more from a potential winger there that can have a big impact for the national team going forward. I don't know. Maybe
I still think Dam's got a future. I just think there's so few players that have got that absolute raw pace that can beat a player and that scare the opposition. And yeah, I mean, I think he he got that assist. He was a great play, and I think that's where you make the difference. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, he made the play that got the equalizer, basically.
Usually, I'm like here with eating the popcorn, watching you guys kind of disagree on the whole damn issue, because usually I'm on this side and you guys pile, like totally coming together. That's not what you mean. But I guess on this is. I kind of see both sides, because there's always going to be that player that's going to go all the way to the corner and not pass it. We've had it in every generation. I can think of of Medina. I can think of several players that would do that, and their job is to try to disrupt the defenses all the way, and maybe once in a while pass it and have a great assist into the goal. Dam does he does that, and I think coaches know that. And I think that's why somebody always brought him up. But then it does get frustrating when we know it's like, una de más, damn, come on. Like, at what point do you just – everyone knows that's what you're going to do, one more of the extra, and you just get rid of the ball and you'll be fine. So it's a little frustrating, I guess, as a fan. But coaches need to keep calling him off.
If Dam can put it together, he'd be one hell of a player. Like, he'd be an absolute – I mean, there's a reason that earlier in his career – he went on trial at Man United, but Chelsea were interested. I mean, the raw conditions that Dam has got, very, very few players possess. But yeah, he's not been able to put it together. The only thing I would say, though, he's improved. The last couple of years, he's got a lot better. And I think, he's arguably now playing some of his best football, because he's getting that percentage has gone up. Yeah. I mean, I know people kind of point to the things that he gets wrong, but if you look at what he started to get more right now. And obviously he definitely has to improve that. I agree with Cesar. He does have to. It is it's just so obvious the problem that Jurgen Damm has in that game. But he's always going to be that weapon that I don't know, he'll be useful. I mean, he's always going to be around this Mexico squad for the next 4 years. And if he can improve that percentage, then I don't know. I mean, he can play quite a few games. I'm not saying a starter because like Cesar said, the competition is strong, but he's still got something to give. And you expect that when he becomes more mature, I know he's 25, but by the time he's 28,
25,
yeah, by the time he's 28, 29, I mean, if he can put that together, then there's still a real player there for me.
Yeah, and you can't argue against his pace. That's for sure. You can't argue against his speed, but once again, I just would wish that someone at his age would be more consistent. And maybe you're right. Maybe by the time he's 28, we'll see a little bit more consistency from him. But I'm still not convinced by him. I mean, just one decent game. I don't know. I guess we could go on and on about Jurgen Damm because I guess that's the thing about Jurgen Damm is because a few years ago we saw a kid with an immense amount of potential, and yeah, he's not at his peak just yet. But the reason why we're arguing about him is because of that potential, because of that pace, because of the capabilities, like you said, of him to potentially go abroad. And he hasn't gone abroad because he's a very expensive player. That's why he hasn't been able to make that leap. But I guess that's what's so polarizing about him and why so many fans either hate him and why you see others that really do support him as well. But it's definitely a polarizing figure when it comes to some of those fringe options for the national team.
I feel like Chucky kind of took the spot of Jurgen Damm. We were talking about Jurgen Damm before, in the talent that he had, and then kind of Chucky just went and just kind of.
Yeah. That's what Lozano did, though. Lozano put that together. He put that goal scoring together. He put the assist together, and that percentages. Because you could see the same with Lozano. He had that ability to just get past a player. Yeah. You know what I mean? With just such ease. You know what I mean? And even, for example, Tecatito has got a degree of that. But that absolute pace to not just get past him, but go flying through and then potentially do something. I'd say even Tecatito doesn't have that to the degree. Even someone like Aquino, I don't think quite has that.
Aquino used to like back, and it's like fast stays together. But again, it goes back that it's that really, really fast winger, and it's we've seen that over time and time again, in that sense. And that's where I think Chucky kind of just went, boom, he started passing it, and then all of a sudden he just started scoring them.
Yeah. I mean, so honestly, I mean, you look at you know Robin and stuff, and Ribery, and you think it's not like a it's not a complicated skill that they have. They just run very fast at defenders, and especially if you're right-footed and you play on the left, like Lozano has done quite a lot, and you cut in, the defender almost knows what you're going to do, but because you're a lot quicker than him, and obviously you mix it up, then it's difficult to defend against, and Dam's just not quite been able to do that. But I still do think that you put Dam on a field and defenders are scared. I mean, you can't leave him 1-on-1, and then if your defender comes across, then all of a sudden you got space. And I think he does have that that ability to kind of disorganize a defense.
Lots of conversation on Jurgen Damm conversation. And if you are joining us now, we're talking about Mexico versus
that damn conversation.
That damn conversation that we keep having. We're talking about obviously the Mexico-Costa Rica game. We really went into the Mexican Soccer Show Extra podcast, Cesar and I, for a quick plug, and we talked about keepers and we talked about Lajud. So it was all good 10-15 minutes about keepers. So if you are interested in that chat, and we mentioned lots of it going into the World Cup, so a little plug for that for all of you guys that are members. Thank you for being a part of it. But to kind of end the Costa Rica, anything else positives? I really like Raul Jimenez. He came in at command. He came back in the PK and scored it, and you saw the presence of how much he has not necessarily developed, but if him and also Tecatito are on the right pace with their clubs and they're playing and they're scoring, and you can see that on the field, throw some of the youngsters in there, and we're starting to see that generation, right, that we want to make sure they're doing. So I definitely liked how Raul Jimenez went there. I think he would have scored a golazo on one of those plays where he was just kind of flying in the middle, and you saw how he is. And then again, commanding on his PKs. But what other positives did you guys see? And we'll close it out, our Costa Rica talk.
Yeah, I think speaking of the wingers, I got to bring up Tecatito. I think I brought it up on that show with you, we still last Friday, that I feel like the last time I saw him playing the Champions League group stage match, I forget who that was against, but when he was with playing with Porto recently, I was actually quite impressed. It was one of the more, I don't know, like commendable showings from Tecatito. And there was something there. There's a little bit of a spark. It looked like he was really starting to bounce back. And I was hoping to see that spark against Costa Rica. And I think we saw glimpses of that. And I think we really, really saw like the creativity. That like vintage 2014, 2015 Tecatito. We saw little bits of that right there. So I'm really, really hoping that after seeing a little bit of that in that second half against Costa Rica, that, when he's likely given the start against Chile, he really takes advantage of that opportunity, because as I mentioned, he does have competition when it comes to playing time in that winger position. I mean, I already mentioned a few of the players here, but the Lozanos, the Dams, the Velas, it's really tough there for minutes. So I think hopefully he takes advantage of that opportunity against Chile.
Yeah, I don't think he needs it for himself overall. Not just for his place with the national team, but he needs to get some confidence back and go back to Porto and start scoring goals again and start making assists. And I don't know, but I think we've talked about him quite a bit, haven't we? That he's not, for some reason he's not found that level. We don't, what I mean? He has kind of taken a drop, but I think for me the positives were Henry Martin, the way he came on. I think you got to say he's been criticised. People have asked, and rightly so. Why is someone like Martin in the national team when he's not even a starter at Club America? The same's been said about Saldívar, and Martin came on and he scored the goal.
All goals were amazing. They're good goals.
Yeah, good goal, and he looked good. He looked sharp. He looked like he belonged with the national team.
Well, he looked hungry. He looked so much more hungry than Saldívar. I think Saldívar looked a little lost there. Maybe he was lacking confidence. But Martin just looked a clear step above. And it's like you mentioned, Tom, just like when people think of Henry Martin, they think like, oh, that guy from Xolos who went to America who had like a few good games. Now everyone's hyping him up. No, he fit in well with that part of that second half that just was really in a resurgent for El Tri in the attack. And you do have to give Martin a lot of credit there because he did an excellent job. He did an excellent job right there.
Yeah, I mean, I think he was helped as well because you had Tecatito coming on, you had Dam coming on. I think if you compare those two players to kind of Brizuelo and Alvarado on the wings, I think as a striker, it definitely helped him the substitutions as well, and also playing alongside Jimenez.
Brizuela making a return, you guys?
No,
Brizuela,
I don't think.
I mean,
so.
I think he's a good player.
I ask you like every year too. For this.
I think he's a good player, Brizuela, but I just think he's one of those players that, and to be honest, I'd say the same right now about Martin, even though he played well, and Zaldívar
Brizuela did have a good time, like when he was coming up younger in the Piojo years, though.
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
All over, but then he kind of dropped.
Yeah,
but
I mean,
like he's kind of coming back.
Sometimes players are just good Liga MX players, and that's fine. You know what I mean? And I think Brizuela's career has basically flattened out to that because, like you said, Wiesel, before the 2014 World Cup, he was one of the most hyped players, and he was playing amazingly well. I think for Toluca at that time. So yeah, I'd say those two, and who else? Victor Guzman for me was the number one. If I was to pick out one player that said, this is absolutely unbelievable. I mean, I think there's only Boselli and Gignac this season who have got more goals and assists combined than Victor Guzman. I mean,
probably Julio Furch.
I don't think so with assists.
With assists? Oh, okay.
I don't think if you combine goals and assists, Furch is there. But I can check it out.
But anyway, sorry.
I was trying to kind of think of like comparing Jürgen Damm and Conejito Brizuela when Conejito Brizuela was when he was, wow, everyone was looking at him. It's the fact that Conejito was able to make those passes back and get to defenders.
But Tom does have a very good point there with Victor Guzman, though. I mean, he was definitely one of my for my player rating, because he was one of the only 3 players who got the 8 there. I mean, it wasn't just for the golazo either. It's easy just to focus on that golazo, but just his distribution was excellent. I was very, very impressed by him, and I think that as the game progressed too, I think he started to get better and better as well. So I was also extremely impressed by Guzman, because my top 3 players for the game were Tecatito, Jimenez, and then Guzman.
Yeah. And I mean, the interesting thing with Guzman as well was back in January, that was the place where he did his ACL. So you can imagine, I think he's only played 11 games, or he started 11 games since then. So he's only kind of just on this kind of recovery right now. So for him to kind of put in a performance for Mexico like that and score that kind of goal, I just thought was amazing. And then, watching him speak afterwards in the mix zone, I mean, just a guy who, I don't know, he was brought up in the same Guadalajara neighborhood as Carlos Salcedo. And I don't know, they kind of share, I don't know, I see a similar mentality as Salcedo in kind of, they're just hard. You know what I mean? They're just not going to be messed with. No, they just kind of made of steel. These guys who just go out there, they do their job, and they do it really well, and they don't feel too much pressure.
Is that the neighborhood you live in, Tom?
Yeah, I'm one of them.
Tom, I've been to Tom's neighborhoods, man.
But yeah, I mean, I think that's what I get from Guzman, not just on the field, but I think off the field, he just seems like one of those guys who's driven. I think he said afterwards, he said, I can guarantee you one thing, that this new generation of player, we're going to give absolutely everything. We're not going to, we're not going to let up a single bit. And it's kind of sometimes nice to hear things like that, just slightly bolder statements than the usual kind of thing you hear from players after games.
On the chat discussion there, if you're joining us on the YouTube chat and you're there on your computer, Cari Torres is there answering questions and talking to everybody. Oscar Plasencia saying Tecatito showed he was hungry last game, though, which is good. Leo Cerda asked us about Henry Martin. Thank you, Tom and Cesar. Leo Cerda, you related to Emmanuel Cerda? Remember that guy? That was I really thought he was going to be something, but not. There's another Jürgen Damm type of player. Pancho's Army is there. Great. And saying hi to Dro the Gunner. Love the show. Listen to every show. Keep it up. So we will continue to have our chat. Really quick, guy. I mean, what's coming up? Moving in from Costa Rica, ending that that discussion to what's coming up with Chile. But first, before we go into the Chile talk, announcement was made. Mexico will be playing in South America. What everybody wanted. Everybody's been talking about Moleros games for the last 5 years. And it feels like this year, not only Mexico's playing in Mexico, but I believe Mexico's played more games outside of the United States than in the United States, which doesn't happen very often, not counting the World Cup ones either. Mexico will be playing not once, but twice Argentina, Messi-less, because I don't think Messi's going to be there because he said he wasn't going to be playing. But from my sources, one of the games is definitely going to be in the Bombonera there. What a mythical stadium. But I'm still a little confused as to why 2 games. Some people are calling it the Copa Adidas. It's not a home or away. Just Tom, kind of like to hear your thoughts on what you think of all of it. And we have to play some games in Argentina. That's going to be great for whoever's traveling over there. And in the atmosphere, we don't get that anywhere in the world, especially the way that it is down there.
Oh yes, I think I'm excited about them. To be honest, I think they're great. And yeah, playing against them twice. Ideally, it'd be there'd be a second game in there, but I'm not really too bothered. I mean, like I said, all this.
I'm just kind of curious as to why.
I just think
they're like, hey, you don't have anybody. We don't have anybody. We have a whole week. Why not just rest him? I don't know. Like if somebody gets injured on that second game.
No, but I mean it's the experiment. You know what I mean? It's not going to be. Tuchel will do exactly the same thing. He'll play one team for one game and one for another, and that's how I think both teams will probably do it. And
do they call each other and be like, hey, can we play like the good guys on the second game? Because that way the good versus the young, and you do the same.
They both scheduled like, oh, we're both gonna have like one game in Europe. Oh, you too? Yeah, okay. Well, there's scheduling conflicts. Yeah, there's scheduling. Should we just play each other again? Is this what we're gonna have? Is that what happened? That's probably not what happened, but
yeah. No, but
if Mexico or in the United States would have scheduled Argentina twice in the United States, can you imagine? Oh, this is all for money. This is like ultimately Argentina has scheduled the biggest molero for scheduling 2 games twice against Mexico. We'll see. I think that's hilarious.
I'm honestly not too. I don't see. I mean, if it was against kind of, Panama or something, then I'd be like, what's going on here?
But I'm talking about Argentina, like
yeah.
It's not like they see Mexico as being this great. Oh, you're gonna play Mexico twice?
Yeah.
All right. I'm just saying on the Argentina side.
Made it out of the group stage 7 times in a row. We're giants of the soccer world, right? Yeah, we're huge giant, the most feared national team in the entire planet.
Somebody made like a joke to Argentina. The only team they ever beat is Mexico. And if I wasn't Mexican, I would be laughing, but I am. I'm not. But I think it's kind of funny that it's like an ongoing joke. It's like the only team you ever beat in the World Cup is Mexico, and that's it. That's funny.
Yeah, but it would have actually been cool. I mean, to play in Europe. I mean, I'm sure maybe that was maybe the goal beforehand, before doing the Argentina games. I'm sure there were scheduling problems with I assume, but what is the League of Nations going on around the same time? But it's an exciting alternative. I mean, it's a good opponent. It could end up being a fascinating clash with some of the more senior players, but that's if we see some of the senior players there, because who knows what's going on with that right now.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. I don't know. I just think there's a kind of, I don't know, I think there's a tendency right now to be like, oh, Mexico aren't playing Moleros, and they're going to play games in the States again. It's not like this is like
they're going to play 5 games next year. Just like they've
they're going
for the last
to play the 5 games like they always do every year, and then they're going to have the Gold Cup as well on top of that. And so next year they'll probably play, 10 to 11 games, in the United States.
The Gold Cup.
It's not something like
Gold Cup, the ultimate Molero.
I mean, you've only got a certain amount of kind of FIFA windows as well. So, maybe there's going to be an opportunity for one a year where you don't play in the United States, and then where you're going to play when you've got the European teams playing a different competition.
There's going to be a lot of FIFA dates here too.
When the South American qualifying starts, I mean, you're going to struggle. It's going to be a struggle. Then you've got the CONCACAF Nation Team League coming up. I mean, it's not going to be that Mexico every FIFA date are going to go to South America, and like Tuchel was suggesting today, and go to play in London, and these kind of things. I don't know. It's just I think it's unrealistic. But I honestly think I've thought about it a lot, and I think even more than going to Argentina and playing, and obviously that is good for the young players, but for me, it's only a minuscule part of that experience that a player needs, and the biggest part of that is actually going to a top league. And I think that if I was to have, or I'll ask you to, if you were to have a decision, Mexico can play really difficult friendlies every FIFA date, or 30 players go and play in La Liga. It's Serie A.
I think
Bundesliga,
that should
Premier
be
League.
that should be an easy question right there, because of course that's week in, week out, kind of like competition at a very high level, as opposed to doing something that's kind of intermediate. But of course, I think that the other question I think that maybe some fans would have is, why not both? Well, why
I
would
was
it be
just about to
possible?
say
Yeah,
that.
but why can't we aim for both?
those?
Yeah, of course. I think if we were to give them the decision, send them to La Liga, send them to Serie A, send them over to Europe. But I think ultimately people think like, if Mexico has the capabilities, if everything gets active, to potentially do a little mixture of the two. Obviously, we know why they play the games in the States, and that's a decent amount of cash, and decent is probably an understatement right there. And obviously, you understand the necessity for that, but it would be cool just to see more games outside of the North American region. I'm not even just saying the United States, but also outside of, I don't know, I understand why they want to have some games in Mexico, but just more games in Europe and South America. That's all I'm saying. Let's mix up. Let's go to Africa. Let's go to like Southeast Asia. Why not? Why not? Why not mix it up?
That was one of the options actually, to go to Asia, wasn't it? For these games in November, but I don't know. I think they were searching for it, but I don't know. I just think
show in Japan, dude. I'm down.
I mean, yeah, I think the international game's just in flux right now, and I don't know.
There's more
can't see
fecha.
this being
There's more fecha FIFAs. That's what I'm looking at.
in a regular recurrence.
Sorry, I think
I'm not really heard anything. But,
no,
I mean, yeah.
What I'm saying is that, like, if you look at the World Cup, because of this, the Nations Cup and all of that, I feel like after the World Cup there was only maybe one FIFA date. After this World Cup, it's every month, except for December.
It's gonna be really confusing once every confederation has their champions, and then they play in the Nations League's champions, which is like a weird
Everybody
World Cup, but not
champions.
really World Cup. But it's gonna be like the Club World Cup, but like the Nations League. I don't know, it's gonna be. It's a bad time for people who don't know anything about soccer, who are really trying to get into the game, because that's all my.
I tell you what scares me though. I tell you what scares me a lot more than the friendlies in the States is the CONCACAF Nations League.
Yeah,
because obviously we're talking about Mexico playing friendlies against Argentina and Brazil and European opposition, and then all of a sudden all the confederations. I mean, South America basically has that anyway, don't they? With qualifying that goes on for like 2-3 years. But I mean, but elsewhere, imagine every FIFA break, Mexico playing CONCACAF nations. Honduras away, followed by Guatemala. I mean, I don't know. That's not great, is it? I mean, even for the fan, that's not great. I'm sure for the player playing in Europe, I'm not sure they'd be.
But then again, but in theory, though, I agree. It is a little worse. But in theory, those Nation League matches are somewhat replacing perhaps some of the friendlies that we were supposed to be having during those open spaces. And during those open spaces for the friendlies, we probably would have been playing up against a Honduras. Or I guess you still have those 5. I'm kind of thinking out loud here. You would still, you would still already have those 5 scheduled friendly games.
We'll still have
the
5 friendlies.
Maybe.
Yeah, but they probably will then be outside the FIFA windows.
Yeah,
or a few of them will.
True.
And to be fair, it's not like we have seen the Honduras and the Guatemalas on the United States, on those some dates. But Adriana kind of asked a question right here. Adriana Terrazas, who was sick, by the way, who couldn't join sick. So thank you for all of your remedies that you sent. Lots of alcohol-oriented remedies, she said. But she asked, she's on the chat saying, anyone actually like the idea of the Nations League? And Mexican Reformist says, I just got here. What's the Nations League?
I mean, the CONCACAF one. The CONCACAF one. We'll have to see how that. How that Mexico goes through. But the one from Europe, I'm actually enjoying the one from Europe. It was kind of fascinating to see all the games recently. I've been enjoying the one from abroad, but I'm still unsure about the CONCACAF one.
Yes, Mexico versus St. Vincent and the Grenadines.
Yeah, I mean the problem is in Europe they kind of categorize them. So you've got like the you've got Germany playing France or England against Spain, and the top teams play there, and the smaller teams, they can work their way up to get there. Where the problem in CONCACAF is
there's only like 4 really top teams.
And that's probably a stretch.
I'm comparing them to the Grenadines, and the Bahamas, and to Cuba and Puerto Rico.
I mean, there's no really top teams, and then there's kind of
top
one team who's
Tom.
good, and then one who's don't know what the United States is right now, and then Costa Rica that's kind of okay.
All right. Well, there's a little talk about Mexico as an opponent. We'll see what is happening. We'll continue to have the 5 games in the United States. Let's chat really quick on a topic that hasn't really. I mean, people are paying attention to it, but I definitely wanted to get you guys' thoughts. Some of the players now, kind of either reports that are coming out that there's maybe some tensions there with some of the players in Europe, with maybe contracts, or when it comes to, I don't know if it's commercials or kind of the duties that you have to do as a player, and that they're not liking. I don't know, Tom or Cesar, if you guys have a little bit of information. I know some people have been asking. I kind of got the sense that something was going on through some internal stuff that I found out of some players really upset after the World Cup. Not necessarily about the Osorio thing, but about a group of players that have said, you know what, I'm kind of being used, and it's not really working as far as football. Like, this is not to gain us being an understanding, become a better at football. That was the message that I kind of gotten off the record from some players, from contact. So I kind of just I feel like maybe some players are going to come out, and nothing happened. And then we're just kind of seeing, other people kind of now have the players are speaking to it. So what can you guys tell us, or Tom or Cesar on that issue?
I'll let Tom take charge on this one, because I've been keeping a close eye. Yeah.
I mean, I don't think it's a new issue. I think there's always been friction between the commercial aspect and the sporting aspect of the national team, and players aren't happy. They never want to come and speak to the press. That's one of the things. None of them ever want to come to the press conferences and stuff. And I think some of the more prominent faces feel a bit used by the federation, and that the federation don't give them the amount of money that perhaps other federations given. And then stemming from that, you've had reports that some of the European-based players, for example, Chicharito, Layún, Herrera, and Guardado, haven't been called up because of this issue, because they want to basically cause trouble, because they want to, they can kind of want to, they want to put the foot down and lay out some how they want to be treated, and then the federation doesn't really like that. I mean, the thing is though, it's difficult because Chicharito's has been ill, has not played. Layún's establishing himself at a new club. You've got Guardado's injured as well. Herrera, I don't know what's going on with Herrera, but you know what I mean. So it's difficult to know what's going on. But like I said, it's not. This isn't kind of. I think this is something that happens cyclically with the national team. I mean, if you go back to '86 and Hugo Sanchez, and you read what his agent at the time says about his commercial responsibilities, I mean, it was a joke. And I think the players, and I think Hercules Gomez as well, I think explained it quite eloquently. The Footballers Association as well. I mean, this is Mexico. This is historic, and they're trying to fight for rights of the players. And obviously, the ones who started that were the high-profile Europe-based players. And I don't think that sits comfortably with people within the Mexican game, not just the federation, but people within the Mexican game. So, the Chicharito right now has the profile to say things and to come out, and he may well be right about a lot of these issues. But does the federation want someone like that around talking about him? But the thing is what you hinted at there, so it's like sometimes I don't get why the players don't just come out with it, and instead of all these rumors and back and forths and these sources says or this said, or just come out and say like what's going on. I think it's something that's missing in the Mexican game, just some real honesty. Like, this is our issue, this is our problem. It's nothing to do with the national team. It's nothing to do with us not wanting to play for the national team. So. But yeah, I mean, you see, following the team around, there's friction. I mean, it's just everywhere. I mean, and it's happened for a few years now. I mean, the way a lot of the players treat the press isn't good. The way the federation treats the press isn't great. I mean, it's very definitely kind of keep the press at length. You know what I mean? I mean, that's the kind of mentality. And then, but someone like Layún, to be fair to him, and Guardado, they always come out and speak to the press. They're one of they're one of the two that kind of, I don't know. It's almost like they've gone to Europe, and I don't know. They're obviously bright guys as well. That's the difference.
Well, the thing is that you don't know who, right? So we're lumping in Layun and Guardado, and it could very well be, Herrera saying this. And it's just like, well, no, Chicharito, or you know what I'm saying? And I think that's where the speculation comes in. We're going to just come out like, look, I feel like I'm doing this. I don't know if it's a problem. This is something that we're going to work with the FMF. Obviously, we love playing football. Obviously, we love winning. And we want to make happy and be there. But at the same time, sometimes we feel that this isn't right. And we're going to come together. And the good thing that there's open communications. Like that's what they should be doing. But people start talking.
And now there's all these kind of back and forth, and who knows what's going on, who's angry, who's not angry. And Layun said there's no issue. He's come out and said that. Vela came out today talking about another issue about kind of him sending messages to somebody on Instagram, and then he apparently got caught, and then Vela say it's a whole fake. But one of the things he said in his message was that he's not even been able to travel to play with the national team. So that's quite actually an important statement, because it says one, he's interested. He was interested in going, and number two, he thinks he's got a future with the national team, because before that, I had in my mind that Vela's future with the national team may be in doubt.
Yeah, no, and I think that's where the speculation comes in, right? Because we're lumping kind of everybody together who's not there, but then then you see Tecatito coming to the national team, and maybe is he part of that, or is he called? Why they didn't call that one. So I agree with you. It's instead of the speculation, but that's the thing. At the same time, everybody's friends, or they'll start saying something. Some reporter that's like, "Oh, I got this information," and tweets it out and comes out. So we'll see. We'll see where that goes.
Yeah.
All right, amigos. It's almost time. We got 10 minutes. Let's talk about Mexico versus Chile. But before we do that, really quick, any updates, Tom, Cesar? I mean, we're still kind of going the national team. The talk, if you would have to put who's the front runner that you're seeing right now. Last month was Tuca. This month was Tata. Next month is somebody else with a 2-syllable T name.
I feel like, as opposed to like trying to figure out like who that leading candidate thing is, I think the more interesting news from last week is that who was it? Beatriz Ramos, I think, from the FMF. The FMF representative stated that as opposed to 24 candidates, there were 24 interviews.
They're interviews.
Which I found.
I do not believe there's 24 interviews. Someone's
whether you believe that. So I saw some funny jokes like online, like a bunch of people on Twitter said like, "Oh, does that mean they just interviewed like one candidate like 23 times?" And then they're just like,
and Almeida wasn't part of those 23.
Yeah,
I mean,
no, go ahead, Tom.
Nobody else that's kind of leading that you're seeing that. I feel like next 2 weeks, some other names is gonna be like whoop. No, I'm already saying that's going to be the national team is what I'm hearing. Now it's like it's going to happen.
Tata Martino is the number one. I remember Guillermo Cantú kind of gave a description of what the next national team manager is the profile. Any kind of Martino. I think. I think he's not through CAF World Cup qualifying. He's even worked with region right now. So I think one of the reasons that this is taking so long is that I think potentially they've identified a legitimate target that they really want, and he's there, and they can't speak to him right now. I don't believe press reports that Martino has agreed a deal, and Martino doesn't have an agent, and I think from what I've heard of him, he's a very professional guy. I don't think he's the type that's going to be coaching Atlanta with Atlanta and then on the side kind of shaking hands with Mexico. So I think basically a lot of this revolves around Martino's future. I think that with Martino, he's going to finish the season, and I agree. It wouldn't completely surprise me if more around Mexican national team have to do the job. Let's not forget, Martino has a very, very good reputation, because he'd agreed to take the before Peckham took it. He'd agreed the terms and everything.
Mhm.
He stayed with Newell's Old Boys because it's the club he came from, and he felt he couldn't leave at the time. But Martino's on record saying that before Peckham, he was going to be the Colombia manager. Colombia is still looking for a manager. Argentina is an absolute mess right now, but Martino could potentially be in that as well. Even the United States, the fact he's worked there in the country, you wouldn't rule that out completely either. So I think Mexico need a backup option. And the backup option, I think, is Carlos Queiroz.
Mm-hmm.
Queiroz is with Iran until January. His contract runs out, I think, 1st of February, because the Asian Cup runs till then. And so it's kind of like, you can see, if you look at it from a time point of view, you're going to have until December with Martino, and then you're obviously running a risk with losing Queiroz in that time. But then, you potentially got Queiroz to go. And Queiroz is, for me, I don't think I don't associate him with attacking football. I think that's the missing link for me with Mexico and Queiroz. I mean, obviously, he's managed Real Madrid before, but I know him when he was at Manchester United. He was the one who put kind of pragmatism into Alex Ferguson's teams. They started doing well in Europe in the Champions League because Queiroz came in, and instead of playing 4-4-2, they started playing with 3 men in midfield and stuff when they were playing away from home. But then, you watch Iran at the last World Cup, and I mean, I don't know, you can't get much more defensive than that.
Yeah.
You really can. So they got the results of the World Cup. They had a really good World Cup, but I mean, that's not attacking football. So, and then after that, I don't know. I mean, it seems like the likes of, Sampaoli and Kiki Sanchez Flores, sorry, and Beckerman aren't really there. I mean, and then where else do you look? Well, back home in Mexico, what have you got? Miguel Herrera. I mean, is that? I don't think Azteca would kind of. I think Azteca would be the problem potentially with Herrera, as long as well as other things as well. But I don't know. I mean, I think there's 2 candidates, and then the kind of a kind of drop off between the next ones. But I will say that they've been very secretive, so it is difficult to know absolutely 100%.
Well, there's our managerial update, and we'll continue to give you guys any updates that we see. And like I said, I think one thing that we've agreed on, Tom and you and I, and Cesar, is that I think it's going to be a long, long, long process. Because I think it's January, February, then we don't have it. It's when we kind of got to go, all right, who are they going to bring? And that'll be more of a conversation that they don't have anybody.
No.
Yeah, I mean, it's difficult. It is difficult. I mean, it's that balance. And to be fair to them, I know they take a lot of criticism, but if you put yourself in their shoes, what do you do? If you've got a candidate like Martino, who you actually believe is he's a really, really strong, and I completely, if they get Martino as Mexican national team manager, for me, it's a massive coup. They've achieved something. They've got for me, someone who's almost ideal for the job. And then, even though it's already been criticized in Mexico, it was actually amazing. Even in ESPN Football Picante, there were people saying that there were better people than Martino on the mesa, and I was just like, oh my god, I can't believe it. But yeah, I think, but yeah, it's difficult. Or what do? Do you wait for somebody, or do you kind of just go for Sampaoli, or do you go for Almeida, who you're not necessarily convinced by?
Yeah,
I don't know. It's a difficult one.
Carlos Queiroz is Portugal's manager, World Cup, right?
Yeah, I think he managed 4 World Cups.
Yeah, 2010. I think he was.
Yeah, he managed South Africa, I think, in 2002. And then Portugal, and then Iran.
Yeah.
The last 2. So he's someone with experience. He's very, very professional. Yeah.
I think it was just that 7-0 Portugal versus Korea, actually. 7-0. All right. Well, we'll keep an update on that, guys. Chile, really quick before we leave. We kind of brushed on it, obviously. Chile. Really quick, do you think players are? I mean, Tuca doesn't want to say it's revenge, and some of the players now it's just another game. Raul try to do that, but I don't know. I think fans are still looking to see. All right, here's Chile one more time, and you have those Chile players that I know said a ton after that Mexico match, made it a statement to continue to this Chile that we didn't qualify to the World Cup, but during that time was what everybody, the whole world, was kind of looking at. But do you see this match meaning a little bit more than just a friendly?
I mean, yeah, of course, because of the 7-0. I don't think that it's going to be on every single player's mind. I don't think every single one is really. I don't think every single Mexico player is going to go out there thinking of revenge. Maybe some are probably thinking about it. Maybe some even from Chile are obviously thinking about that one match because some of those within the current roster were involved in that 7-0 win. So I do think it means a little bit more than a friendly. Maybe I'll say it means subtly more because I think a few players have even brought it up too, but I don't think that it's exactly going to be the main inspiration point for the Mexican national team players, and especially since I know a few of these guys that are probably going to be in the starting 11. I'm not saying all of them, but I would say a few are probably weren't even within that roster that lost to the Chile that 7-0 match. So yeah, I think it does mean a little bit more. No one can overlook that 7-0 loss. It wasn't as if that was a loss that was 10 years ago. That was something that was fairly recent, but I don't think it's going to be the main motivational point for Mexico to do well. I don't think it's going to be the main motivation for Chile to really get another win there against Mexico. So yeah, it'll be on their minds, but not exactly the focal point.
Tom, Mexico loses 4-5-0 to Chile.
Oh my god, so sad! I just laughed at that.
Look at that game, and it's kind of like, okay. I mean, take the Uruguay match and kind of flip that if that was Chile. The scoreline will mean something. Side note, I guess you go ahead. I don't know. I'll go after. Go
ahead. No, I mean, I don't know. It's a friendly, isn't it? I mean, it's not. Even Arturo Vidal the other day when he was asked about Chile losing 3-0 to Peru. And he was basically like, it's a friendly. Why is everybody getting so mad? We've got to be ready for the Copa America. And I think, that's the big test for Chile. But I mean, this is a different Chile as well. I mean, it's been such a difficult time for the Chilean national team in terms of personal relationships, fallouts. It's been a disaster. And the key figures from that, double Copa America winning team I don't know, it doesn't seem like they get on. I mean, Claudio Bravo's injured, but he doesn't, him and kind of Arturo Vidal, Alexis Sanchez. Then you've got, what's it called, the holding midfielder? Can't remember now. He was in Mexico. It's just
Arturo Vidal?
No, the holding midfielder who played at Pumas.
I gotta look up the roster.
And then you've got Medel. I don't know. It just seems like it's explosive mix. So it is what it is. It's a friendly game, and obviously it's like Ferretti said. I think it'd be good to kind of clean that kind of slate. You know what I mean? In terms of getting something against Chile, but at the end of the day, it's the performance that matters tomorrow.
Vargas.
What are you gonna say?
I said Vargas. For Chile, Vargas or Diaz.
Vargas, I don't think he's in.
No. Is that who you're talking about?
No. The holding midfielder. Put my mind.
Diaz, Vidal, Aranguiz, Bocellor, Jara, Jara, Medel. Who else was there? Fuensalida was there.
No, never mind.
It's not that obscure talent name Alexis Sanchez, is it? The
holding midfielder.
That
holding midfielder played for Pumas.
All right, well we'll get that. I'm trying to figure out who played in that match. Okay,
Bobby Charlton. I'm sick of Bobby Charlton.
Marcelo Diaz.
What happens? Give us your predictions.
I think that so when you look at the likely starting 11, and everyone's been tweeting out that likely starting 11, which has that European core, which has Lozano, Jimenez, Tecatito, Fabian, Gutierrez. And then in the attack, and then you have Araujo and Reyes back there in defense. I do see some worries there at the fullback position. I think when you have players like Xhaka and potentially Gallardo pushing high up on those flanks, it's going to leave Mexico a little exposed. I think that although Araujo seems to be adjusting a little bit out there in Spain, I think Reyes is still not 100% trustworthy for Mexico. So I wouldn't be surprised if Chile were to capitalize on that. But at the same time, there are some exciting members of that Mexican attack. You look at the Tecatitos and you look at Lozano and Jimenez, who's just been on fire. So I think this could potentially be a pretty exciting game. And I'm going to go with a 2-2 draw. I think it could be a lot of fun in the attack. I think it could be a little open. But yeah, I'll go with the 2-2.
What do you think happens?
Yeah, I'll go with 3-2 Mexico. Why not?
What?
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I think something's not right within Chile. I'm not sure whether it's something with the manager, Rueda, or what it is, but I just think it's kind of the group's not there, and I think Mexico. I don't know. I think they're enjoying themselves, to be honest.
Marcelo Diaz. Sorry.
See,
Marcelo Diaz.
Yeah.
Bobby
Oh,
Charlton. Wayne Rooney.
Play with Celta de Vigo. Yeah.
Mia Hamm.
I'm gonna go with. I think it's gonna be like a 3. I don't know. You guys make so much sense. 3-1. I was gonna say like it's again tail or like a 3-2 where Mexico like dominates one half, but it's not enough, and the first half is all Chile again. I feel like Mexico and Chile have those type of halves where they just like one dominates over the other. Wasn't it by the halftime on the other game? Was it only like 1-0 on the?
You mean the first? You mean the?
No. The one that Mexico got beat by obviously 7-0, but wasn't it at halftime only 1-0? Or did we were already like in demise? I try to forget.
I know. I kind of blacked out that day.
June 18th of 2016.
I think it might have been 2-0, and then
all I know is that
Osorio
I don't
changed
think we
it
were playing
to
that.
kind of pull it back.
We weren't playing that crazy. It wasn't like a horrible first half for it. So
Are you sure? Are you?
yeah,
I'm not
no.
entirely sure. I don't know. I'll have to
44th,
look back.
16th minute. Edson Put, Arturo Vidal on the 39th, and Eduardo Vargas on the 44th. Never mind.
I was gonna say I don't. Yeah.
I guess it was 3-0. All right.
Yeah.
All right, chavos.
Cool.
We can't remember anything today.
Oh, man, it's kind of crazy. Okay, Mexico plays Chile. Should be an interesting game. None of us are going to be there. It's one of the first times the Mexican Soccer Show doesn't have a representation. I don't believe anybody else is not going on, unless Adriana hasn't told us. But that'll be there. So watch it. Hopefully Univision doesn't do us dirty and puts us on the bottom. That little screen for the first 6 minutes. I don't know what happened there.
Dude, that was
I can
terrible.
tell that's annoyed you.
Oh my god,
That's annoyed you.
Dude, Tom, it
my
was terrible. Dude.
gosh.
It was terrible, man. I mean, I don't like hate the U.S. men's national team, but I hated them at that point. It was like, oh my god, man. It was very.
I think
frustrating.
Univision was like, oh, that's right. We don't make the rules in Mexico, but we have the rights, and we already scheduled the U.S. in this game, so let's just do split screen. Which I don't understand why didn't at least. I mean, I don't have cable, so I thought maybe the UDN would have the full match, right? But no, like they were doing the same broadcast on both channels. I was like, you obviously have the feed anyway. We'll see what happens in Chile. What time is the game tomorrow? Anybody know? Any research for this Mexican soccer show?
6:30 Pacific.
6:30 Pacific, 6:45. So it'll probably be around 7:15, because whatever it is.
I've got 10 p.m.
7:19.
It's 30 minutes plus, and it's funny that you mentioned that because
National anthem 7:32.
we have a chat. We have a chat, right?
Kick off on Wednesday.
We have a chat on WhatsApp, all of us in the Mexican Soccer Show, and normally one of us is at the game, so we get the actual press release and the actual. And there's a secret. There's like actual start time, and it gives us like the minute the kickoff is gonna be. And so normally we tell you guys, well, it's gonna be 7:01, or they were doing these crazy like 7:31. So if it says 6:45, it'll probably be 7:16. The
7:16 is when you see the players starting to walk out. You're like, oh my god, really?
Dang it. So we'll see. It'll start between 10. Well, it depends. Is the U.S. playing? So
yeah, they are. I think they are actually playing right beforehand. So
there you go. So we'll see if they put us on that double screen. We'll bid out. All right, guys. Thanks a lot for joining us. It's been the Mexican Soccer Show. We'll join next week. I know Mr. Tom's probably not. He's going to be out. It'll probably we'll see Cesar, Adriana, myself, Amy, and maybe we'll invite somebody else. So we'll continue to please send us any questions that you do have. All of you guys are listening to us on iTunes. Again, I ask you, please go on there and say something nice about the podcast. Thank you to all that are on the chat. Lots of people on the chat today, including our very own Gary and also Adriana, so on who's there. We'll have Mr. Tom Marshall send us away and say adios.
Adios.
Good job, Tom. All right, guys. Hasta la